Hello there. So you get rain Hamish, you get outdoors Hamish, you get car Hamish, and today you've got house Hamish because outside's not going to work. Don't know how long this will be. It'll probably be fairly short because I don't have an answer really to the question I'm going to pose. But it's something along the lines of the difference between a shepherd and a leader is buried in here somewhere. So what would be the difference between a shepherd and a leader? A shepherd is kind of like a teacher in that they know all the correct things to say. They've studied all the books, all the stuff. They know psychology, they know how to talk to people, they know how to deal with people, roughly. A lot of leaders really aren't like that at all. But there's something that a leader has that a shepherd doesn't, that a shepherd's trying to mimic. And this is where we're getting to the crux of what I'm actually aiming at here, prompted from a voice message by a very good friend of mine. You know who you are. It took me a while to get around to it, but here we go. And it's the difference between synthetic and natural. And we've played around with words, organic, whatever, but you know what I mean by natural. Natural versus synthetic. And love, really, because everything comes back to love. Everything's made out of love, built out of love, even if it's distorted to the wazoo and you're in a prison planet and things are awful, it's still built out of love. It's just totally distorted into something else. And by love, I don't mean love and hate. I mean that third thing, like capital L love, like we've talked about before. So how do you spot the difference between synthetic love, which is like this kind of mimicry, still built out of love because there's nothing else to build out of. This is the trick. All there is love. Using that word falls very short, but you know what I mean. And so when you build something that's synthetic, you're still building it out of love. So it's got this resonance. Yeah, it's there. You recognize it. It'd be like, I don't know, like fake bacon or those like soy sausages or whatever. Even when they're perfect, I assume they can get them perfect now. The flavor, the shape, the look, it's just not quite meat. Yeah? It's a replica, it's a copy. Explain to me why people who don't like or want to eat meat have to have something that is in the shape, smell, and taste of meat, and you'll be doing me a favor because I don't get that. But anyway, we'll move along. Spotting the difference between synthetic and true, natural. It's almost impossible to mentally, cerebrally, I can't tell you the differences. I can't list them. I can't write a book for you about them or a manual. I can't post a thing online telling you. This is the problem. It needs to be experienced. And most people are experiencing synthetic love to some degree or other. And they might touch true capital L love in their life, perhaps, potentially. Maybe they're not even online enough to know that they've touched it. But it's a pretty all-encompassing experience when you do. It's not a bliss bomb. It's not a love and light whiteout. Like it's not that. It's visceral and it's on all levels. Like there's no way to describe it, but there's also no way to deny it when you touch it. And you realize that it's everywhere. Once you touch it, you realize there's a lot more of it around than you thought. It's just not quite in plain sight or hiding in plain sight, potentially. So This is the trick and the pitfall that everyone who gets to that position faces, is how do you explain the moon to someone who's blind? How are you going to explain the taste of rose water to someone, or orange blossom water to someone with no taste buds? Until you've actually touched that thing, like capital L true love, you're not really going to know the difference between true and synthetic or artificial. And so, like I always say about walking yourself out of the corner, the way to get yourself there is to walk yourself out of the corner, one step at a time. Start with little things around you, true ones and then copies. And it really doesn't matter. Like go and see some live music, like an orchestra with instruments and stuff. No recording. You're in the front couple of rows. There's a violin, there's an oboe, there's a piano. It doesn't have to be a $500 a ticket thing. It could be free. People are giving away classical music at the moment because no one wants to go and listen to it. Go and see unplugged, unaugmented, live, acoustic instruments. Voices are tricky. That's different. The singing thing's tricky, but the instruments, go and see that. Experience that somewhere. And then go home and put on a record, if you have one. Put on YouTube. Listen to the orchestra through the speaker. Tell me there's no difference. Put it through, get a brand new record, put it through your hi-fi, surround speakers. Magical. About as analog as you could get. Is why I keep saying record, like LP. Get it as analog as possible, like needle on the plate kind of thing. It's still not quite. Run it through YouTube and Wi-Fi it or Bluetooth it to your speaker, or just run it out of the phone. Listen to it again. The notes are the same, but there's something. You can't tell me what it is. You won't be able to describe it to me, but there's a difference. And you know it, even though you can't articulate it. And then keep doing that. Do that with food. Do that with walking outside and actually putting your feet on the grass and having a look at the holographic sky and the wind on your face, and then get up some sort of nature scene on the phone screen and listen to the birds through the speaker and look at it on the screen and just catch the differences. And just keep doing that. Keep looking for the artificial or the synthetic or the mimic, because this is what we're talking about. This is not some sort of random, we couldn't all get a record player and so we invented YouTube because now it's in our phone and now it's in our pocket and it's so much better. No, we're talking about deliberate mimicry. Not mistaken identity, but assumed identity. This stuff is something pretending to be something else. And if you've never really had much of an experience with the something else, you're not going to know. So it doesn't have to be big and convoluted. It's just have a bite of roast chicken and then try some roast chicken flavored chips. I mean, if you really want the big counterpoint, right? Have a slice of cheese and then have a cheese flavored Dorito. Couldn't get, they're poles apart. They're worlds apart. It's like magnetic north and south. Do that. As an exercise, do that. Go, here's the thing, here's the mimic. What are the differences? Catalog them. List them. Try and put your finger on them. because then you'll start to see. And someone said this to me. I was having this discussion only 2 or 3 days ago. It was a discussion around synthetic love or artificial love. And I said, until you had experienced the real thing viscerally in your field, up close and personal, would you have ever been able to spot the difference just with the training and the upbringing you had in your family before relationships started? Could you have spotted the difference? And she said, no, I could not. She just didn't know. She couldn't pick it. She hadn't trained herself to look for it, because why would you train yourself to look for the difference between synthetic and true? So I can't tell you what the difference is between the overlay and the real thing, what it's supposed to be and what it actually is. The mimic of love with a small l and true love, capital T, capital L. I can't tell you the difference because it is, Rumi and Hafiz can't tell you the difference. They wrote how many 100 poems? They still can't tell you the difference because it is ineffable. It is actually undescribable, indescribable. You cannot do it. How many stanzas and poems did those guys write? And they still couldn't describe it to you. They could only point. It's just the finger pointing at the moon. So I can't describe it to you. Maybe someone else can, but I know I can't. But I can give you tips and pointers for how to spot it for yourself. And it'll be annoying and it'll be slow and it'll be painstaking, but you are training yourself. And it is worthwhile to train yourself to spot the difference between the synthetic and the true. Because that is the majority of what's going on here at that surface level of fuckery, is you just don't even know what's actual and what's mimicry. And it's a taste in your mouth that you can't put words to, but once you've had the flavor, no one can tell you otherwise. Once you know, you will never accept the substitute again. It's impossible. So it's about getting out there, getting in there, and doing some comparisons and really lining stuff up, because you're trying to sniff out the mimic, the clown, the actor. That's what you're looking for in the room. You're looking for the thing that's trying to present you to you as something, but there's actually a hidden agenda going on and there's something else going on underneath. That's what you're trying to sniff out. You're trying to sniff out a deliberate deception. And that has a frequency about it. And that's, at the end of the day, that's the flavor in your mouth between true love and anything else masquerading as it, is it's the flavor of deception. Because anything that's mimicking or copying is a deception, and you can taste it. You can taste that frequency. Okay. Much love.